Good morning and welcome to an absolutely gorgeous start to the day here at Munich International Airport. Today we've flown with Lufthansa in their short-haul business class for the very first time on the channel. Just arrived on a long overnight flight with them and it was absolutely superb, so let's see if they can keep it up for the short haul. I must say I've had a couple of pretty nice experiences recently transiting through Munich International Airport. Lufthansa happened to use the newer of the two terminals. It's Terminal 2 at Munich and it really is very nice indeed. What I would say on this particular experience is that transiting from an international flight did take quite a long time. There didn't seem to be an awful lot of staff on, but it wasn't long before I was familiarising myself with the selection of lounges and leaving all of that stress behind. Very helpful lounge staff informed me that there is another lounge after passport control, so we'll head down there so don't have to worry about clearing that after going into the lounge, same sort of place, just directly underneath, so in theory it should be easy enough to find. When it comes to the Lufthansa lounges at Munich, or frankly anywhere that I've had the pleasure of using Lufthansa, the lounges themselves are plentiful. There always seems to be a good selection around, which is ideal given the makeup of the European airports and the fact that sometimes the gates can be an awfully long way away from the central area, and indeed sometimes you need to clear out of a Schengen area. Now in terms of the lounges themselves, I've said in previous reviews that they're a little bit functional. Do I take that comment back off the basis of Munich? No. I think in terms of the decor of these lounges, with the wooden floors and slightly mismatched colour leather interiors, they can look a little bit less plush, I think, than other airlines, certainly comparing some of the more recent British Airways refits perhaps, or even the likes of Emirates, Qatar Airways of course. But in terms of all of the key things that you need, little snack on the food front, some really good local beers. There, of course, I was just having the water, but the key thing is that the choice is there overall for a short stay before a European flight. I think they do really quite well. I think when particularly transiting from a longer international flight, the availability of showers is something that's absolutely key. I must say I have seen an awful lot of shower facilities across their recent lounge network in recent months, and on this front they get a really big thumbs up. Now sadly, when I arrived at the gate, the usual very high levels of Germanic efficiency was sadly missing. I actually had a really tight connection in Oslo that afternoon, so it was a little bit nerve-wracking to see quite such a delay. That did give me the opportunity, however, to explore Munich Airport a little bit more. They actually had some of their newer Star Allegris style seating on display. If you'd like to see a little bit more of this, but up in the business class, you can check out my recent review of that on the channel on board the Airbus A320, which you can see on screen now. It really was absolutely superb. I'd say whilst we head to the gate, if this is your first time tuning into the channel, I've got so much on the channel itself from lots of European carriers, including the likes of KLM, British Airways and Air France, to name just a few. So if this sort of content is your thing, hit that subscribe button and YouTube will help you keep fully up to date with all of the new videos as they go live each week. For now, let's jump on board. Alrighty, so Lufthansa short-haul business class, here we come. I was keen to see exactly what the experience would be like. I hadn't flown Lufthansa short-haul for absolutely years. Now, in terms of these seats, I described the lounge as being functional, and as with these seats, I've actually suffered them a few more times in recent weeks and months, and yeah, they're really about as comfortable as they look. Now, as ever, with European business class, they do block out the middle seats, and I must say up front, in the business class, there was a little bit more space in terms of legroom than you get back in economy, so that at least was a thumbs up. To be honest, I always like to be fair on the channel, but for me, the seats were a real sticking point, particularly in the business class. What was nice to see, at least, was that they did have overhead air vents and overhead lights, but I don't recall any in-seat charging, and the feeling of these seats after an hour or so really wasn't very good. Anyway, for now, we'll take to the skies. We're already running late for Oslo, so we'll get skybound, and then we'll see what the service is like in the air. takeoff thrust set, that's us disappearing up into those beautiful Munich skies. We'll kick off all things onboard review by firstly looking at the catering. Now, when it comes to Lufthansa, they have their onboard delights. That's largely for back in the economy. You can see their real use of proper tonic water, as we call it back here in the UK. Great to see Fever Tree on board. As I say, however, we won't be needing all of that as the food and drinks are complimentary up front. Now, when the food did arrive, it did get me thinking once again about that onboard delights menu and whether I should have really ordered something from there. I joke, but that main course there didn't look very good at all. On the plus side, I thought the dessert looked really quite appetizing, and it was nice to see some little touches from them in the sense of real cutlery on board and also a freshen up towel served at the seat with the meal service. One thing I did notice was that the service was nice and smooth and efficient throughout, and it wasn't long before I was getting stuck headlong into some of the alcoholic selections on board. It was the white wine that I went for, and overall, it was really very good indeed. All in all, from Lufthansa on a short service, not too bad, but I do think they need to improve things on the main meal front. By that point in the flight, there was certainly a lot of entertainment going on outside of the window with an awful lot of lumps and bumps. Now, talking about all things entertainment, sadly, no seatback entertainment screens on European business class services. However, on this aircraft, I'm glad to say there was Wi-Fi and also free messaging was included completely free of charge. A thumbs up on that front. And additionally, who doesn't like a little sweet treat throughout the flight just to finish things off very nicely? It's the signature of both Swiss and their sister company Lufthansa, and in the business class the quality of chocolate is that bit higher than of course those back in economy. How nice. As for now, it's a good time for us to sit back and reflect on the experience so far, and really, in terms of Lufthansa short-haul business class, my thoughts are incredibly simple. If you are looking to use Lufthansa as part of a holistic long-haul business class ticket, I think business class can be a nice way of facilitating you onto the longer flight. After all, there are a number of shortcuts you get with it, be it priority boarding, priority check-in, the lounges, that make that transit experience and the holistic overall experience that bit better. However, on an isolated basis, do I deem it something that would be worth upgrading to from the economy cabin? No, absolutely not. I don't think the food's there. I don't think the seating's there to really make it worth it. So there it is, folks. Lufthansa short-haul business class. You've seen it all. Would love your comments down below. Otherwise, at this point in time, all that's left for me to say is to thank you so much for watching today's video. Very much hope it was useful, and I'll see you in another one real soon.